The note fell from between the pages of Brent's leather planner like a death sentence. 3 lines, hastily scrawled in my husband's distinctive handwriting. Meeting S again. Mother insists. Must secure the future. My name is Kaya, and until this moment, I thought I was living someone else's dream life. Funny how a single scrap of paper can shatter everything you thought you knew. Darling, the lamb isn't going to season itself. Skylar's voice cut through my thoughts, sharp as the knife I was holding. My mother-in-law hovered behind me in her pristine kitchen, where I'd been relegated to preparing another elaborate family dinner. Remember, the congressman is joining us tonight. Of course, I replied, forcing a smile. I haven't forgotten my place as the family's glorified cook. Now, she tutted, adjusting her pearl necklace. We all have our roles to play. The Crawford name carries certain expectations. 5 years ago, I'd been running my own successful catering business, creating innovative fusion dishes that made food critics swoon. Now I was here, suffocating under crystal chandeliers and generations of family portraits, all wearing the same judgmental expression as my mother-in-law. Kaya! Brent's voice echoed through the marble hallway. He appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. Mother, the congressman called. He's bringing his wife and daughter. Serena's coming? Skylar's face lit up. How wonderful! Kaya, dear, do set an extra place. The way Skylar said Serena's name made my skin crawl. I'd seen her at previous gatherings. Tall, blonde, from the right family. Everything I apparently wasn't. My phone buzzed. Paula. Still on for coffee tomorrow? You sound like you need it. Everything all right? Brent asked, noticing my distraction. I slipped the phone away. Just Paula checking in, and yes, the lamb will be perfect, since that's clearly everyone's concern. Don't start, he warned quietly, glancing at his mother. Not tonight. I watched him retreat to his study, probably to write in that diary he thought I didn't know about. The same diary I'd glimpsed him hiding behind the false panel in his desk drawer last week. The doorbell chimed. Voices filled the foyer, Trevor's booming laugh, Reggie's quieter tones, and the distinguished rumble of the congressman. I plated the appetizers, my hands moving automatically while my mind raced back to that note. Must secure the future. What future? And who was S? Kaya, darling. Serena's voice dripped honey as she glided into the kitchen. Everything smells divine, though have you considered using fresh thyme instead of dried? Mother always says... Serena, why don't you join everyone in the living room? I interrupted, maintaining my smile. I'm sure they're eager to hear about your recent charity gala. She paused, something flickering behind her perfect makeup. Of course, though do let me know if you need any assistance. After she left, I gripped the counter, breathing deeply. The note burned in my pocket like a hot coal. I needed to know what was in that diary. You've outdone yourself, Reggie said later as I served the main course. My brother-in-law was the only Crawford who treated me like a human being. Though you seem distracted tonight. Just tired, I lied, watching Brent lean close to whisper something to Serena. Their shoulders touched. Skylar beamed at them. The lamb is... adequate, Skylar announced to the table, though perhaps a touch overdone for the congressman's taste. I saw my reflection in the polished silver serving tray, composed, smiling, the perfect Crawford wife. But something had changed. The note in my pocket felt like a key, and suddenly I knew with crystal clarity that I needed to unlock whatever truth it was hiding. More wine, anyone? I offered, making my rounds. As I passed Brent's study, I glimpsed the desk drawer through the open door. The diary waited there, holding answers I wasn't sure I was ready for. Later that night, after the guests had gone and Brent had retreated to his study, I stood in the kitchen, methodically washing crystal glasses worth more than my old catering van. Each one clinked against the sink like a tiny bell, counting down to something I couldn't name yet. My phone lit up with another message from Paula. Whatever's going on, remember who you are. You're stronger than they think. I dried my hands and touched the note in my pocket. Tomorrow, I decided. Tomorrow I would find that diary. And God help the Crawfords when I did. Because one thing was becoming clear, in this recipe for disaster, I wasn't going to be just another ingredient they could measure and control. I was about to become the chef. You're going to do what? Paula nearly choked on her latte. We were tucked away in our usual corner of the coffee shop, far from any prying Crawford eyes. I'm going to find that diary, I said, keeping my voice low. I need to know what's happening in my own house. And you're sure about this? Paula leaned forward, her reporter's instincts kicking in. Because once you open that door... I found another note this morning. I pulled it from my purse. S confirms arrangement. Mother pleased. God forgive me. Tell me that doesn't sound suspicious. Paula read it twice, her frown deepening. When did you say Brent started acting different? 3 months ago. Right after Skylar's speech about securing the Crawford legacy at their anniversary party. I stirred my untouched coffee. The same week Serena started showing up at every family function. Speak of the devil, Paula muttered, nodding toward the window. Outside, Serena was climbing into her Mercedes, parked right in front of Brent's office building across the street. That's the 3rd time this week, I said. And Brent's supposed to be in Chicago. My phone buzzed. Skylar's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. You can't avoid her forever, Paula warned. Watch me. I have 2 hours before she expects me at the house to plan next week's charity gala. That's enough time. For what? To search Brent's study. I stood up, gathering my things. Cover for me if she calls. Paula grabbed my arm. Be careful, Kaya. These people, they're not like us. I drove home with my heart pounding. The house was empty. The staff had Thursdays off. Perfect. I headed straight for Brent's study, my heels clicking against the marble floors. The false panel in his desk drawer stuck for a moment before sliding open. There it was. A simple black notebook. My hands shook as I opened it. The first entry was dated 3 months ago. Mother says it's for the best. The Crawford line needs strong blood. Kaya's background. They never approved. Serena understands her role, but how can I do this to my wife? My vision blurred. I flipped forward. S agreed to the arrangement. Mother's lawyer drew up papers. 9 months to produce an heir. Kaya can never know. The diary slipped from my fingers, hitting the desk with a dull thud. A noise from downstairs made me freeze. Kaya, Reggie's voice. You here? I shoved the diary into my bag. In the study, I called, trying to steady my voice. Reggie appeared in the doorway looking concerned. You okay? You're white as a sheet. I'm fine, I lied. Just looking for some charity paperwork. He studied me for a long moment. No, you're not fine, and I think I know why. He closed the door behind him. I've seen the way they look at her, at you, the way Mother orchestrated everything. What are you talking about? Serena, he said simply. The arrangement. I overheard Mother and Father discussing it last month. They think I'm as blind as everyone else. My legs gave out and I sank into Brent's chair. They're trying to replace me. Not just replace you, Reggie said quietly. They're trying to breed you out. A proper Crawford heir, from proper Crawford stock. Mother's been planning it since your wedding. And Brent agreed. My voice cracked. Brent's weak. Always has been. But listen, he moved closer, lowering his voice. I have proof, documents, recordings. I've been gathering evidence of Mother's schemes for years. If you want to fight back. The front door slammed. Skylar's voice rang out. Kaya, are you here early, dear? We need to discuss the seating arrangements. Reggie and I stared at each other. Tomorrow, he whispered. Meet me at the old boathouse, bring the diary. I nodded, heart racing as footsteps approached the study. Skylar appeared, perfectly coiffed as always. There you are. And Reggie too. How lovely. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Darling, why haven't you been answering my calls? Sorry, I was organising, I gestured vaguely at the desk. Well, never mind that now. We have work to do. She paused, studying my face. Are you feeling all right? You look rather disturbed. Just a headache, I said, patting my bag where the diary lay hidden. Nothing a little rest won't cure. Rest? Skylar laughed. Oh, darling, Crawfords don't rest. We persevere. She turned to leave, then added, Oh, and Serena will be joining us for dinner tonight. Do make sure there's enough for everyone. I caught Reggie's eye as she left. He nodded slightly. A promise. A conspiracy. The diary felt heavy in my bag, weighted with betrayal and secrets, but now I had an ally. And tomorrow, at the boathouse, I would learn exactly how deep this conspiracy went. The boathouse creaked in the morning wind as I faced Brent across the dusty space. His face was ashen. The diary lay open between us on an old crate. How long have you known? He asked. Long enough. I kept my voice steady. Were you ever going to tell me or just wait until Serena's pregnancy announcement at some fancy dinner party? He flinched. It's not what you think. Really? Because your diary spells it out pretty clearly. Mother says it's the only way. The papers are signed. 9 months to produce an heir. I threw his words back at him. Did you think I wouldn't figure it out? You don't understand the pressure. The pressure? I laughed, harsh and broken. Try being the outsider for 5 years. The charity case who married above her station. The disappointment who couldn't give them their precious heir. I never meant to hurt me? Then why did you sign those papers, Brent? Why did you agree to father a child with another woman? He slumped against the wall. Mother said it was the only way to save the family name, that your background wasn't suitable. She had it all planned. The lawyers, the confidentiality agreements, even the story we'd tell society. And what was that going to be, that I was barren, unstable, or just conveniently out of the picture? Kaya, please, don't. I held up my hand. Just tell me one thing. Was it before or after our anniversary dinner? When you gave that toast about love and loyalty, was Serena already pregnant? His silence was answer enough. The boathouse door creaked. Reggie stepped in, holding a manila envelope. Sorry I'm late. Had to shake Mother's assistant. She's been following me. Show her, Brent said quietly. Show her everything. Reggie spread documents across the crate. Emails between Skylar and various lawyers, medical records, a contract with Serena's signature, promising her a substantial trust fund in exchange for carrying a Crawford heir. Mother's been planning this for years, Reggie explained. She did the same thing to our Aunt Catherine 20 years ago. When she couldn't conceive, they replaced her too. It's all about the bloodline. And you knew? I turned to Brent. You knew and you still went along with it? I tried to fight it at first, he whispered. But Mother, she threatened to destroy your catering business, to ruin your family's reputation. She has connections everywhere. So you decided to destroy me instead? A noise outside made us all freeze. Footsteps on the dock. Brent? Darling, are you out here? Skylar's voice carried across the water. Go, Reggie hissed, shoving the documents into my hands. Take the back door. I'll handle Mother. I clutched the evidence to my chest and slipped out the rear entrance. Behind me, I heard Skylar's voice rising in suspicion, Brent's stammered excuses, Reggie's smooth deflection. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. Paula, emergency, come quick, you need to see this. 20 minutes later, I sat in Paula's living room, staring at her laptop screen. She'd pulled up a draft announcement from the Crawford family's PR team, dated for next month. The Crawford family regretfully announces the separation of Brent and Kaya Crawford, citing irreconcilable differences. In this difficult time, the family celebrates the upcoming arrival of a new heir, as Brent and his childhood friend Serena joyfully expect their first child. They're going to blindside you, Paula said softly, make you look like the villain who abandoned her husband in his hour of joy. My hands clenched around the stack of evidence. Not if I blindside them first. What are you thinking? The charity gala, I said, a plan forming. Next week. Everyone who matters will be there. The perfect audience for a different kind of announcement. Kaya, Paula warned, these people are powerful. They could destroy you. They already tried. I stood up, suddenly energized. But they forgot something important. What's that? I'm not just some society wife they can replace. I'm a chef. I smiled, and it felt dangerous. And I know exactly how to serve revenge. My phone lit up with another message. From Skylar this time. Darling, don't forget we're finalising the gala menu tomorrow. Serena has some lovely suggestions. I typed back. Of course. I have some special recipes in mind. It will be a night to remember. Paula raised an eyebrow. What are you going to do? I'm going to give them exactly what they want. A spectacular Crawford family dinner. I patted the evidence in my bag, with a few secret ingredients they won't expect. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the Crawford estate on the hill. Perfect weather for what I was planning, because sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served in courses, with witnesses, at a table they can't escape from. The first course needs to be perfect, I said, arranging fresh herbs in the Crawford kitchen. It sets the tone for everything that follows. Like a good opening statement, Paula mused, helping me prep. She'd insisted on being here for the gala menu tasting, claiming she was writing a piece on society events. Skylar had been thrilled at the publicity. Exactly. I carefully plated the appetizer, seared scallops with a bitter orange sauce. Every bite tells a story. Speaking of stories, Skylar swept in, Serena trailing behind her like a designer shadow. I've been thinking about the seating arrangements. Serena should be at the main table, don't you think? Next to Brent, of course. Of course, I smiled, sliding the plates across the counter. Try this. Serena took a delicate bite. Oh, it's different. The sauce is quite sharp. Bitter orange, I explained. Sometimes the sweetest-looking things have a hidden bite. Skylar's eyes narrowed slightly. Perhaps something more traditional would be better. Trust me, I said, holding her gaze. This menu will give everyone exactly what they deserve. The kitchen door swung open as Reggie entered. Something smells amazing. He caught my eye, patting his jacket pocket slightly. More evidence. Perfect timing, I said. Try the scallops. I'm thinking of calling it truth served cold. Skylar's teacup clinked sharply against its saucer. What an unusual name. I'm full of surprises lately. I turned to Serena. Aren't we all? Colour flooded her cheeks. I should check on the, flower arrangements. But you haven't tried the second course, I called after her retreating form. It's a revelation. Paula stifled a laugh behind her notebook. Reggie coughed to hide his smile. Kaya, Skylar's voice turned steel sharp. A word in private. She led me into the dining room, closing the doors. What exactly do you think you're doing? Planning a menu. Isn't that what you wanted? Your perfect little chef, cooking your perfect little meals? Don't play games with me. She stepped closer. I've worked too hard to let you ruin everything now. Ruin what, Skylar? Your carefully orchestrated replacement plan? Your designer grandchild? She went pale. How dare you? I dare because I have proof. I pulled out my phone, showing her a photo of the contract with Serena. Every email, every legal document, every secret meeting. Where did you... Let's just say not everyone in your family agrees with your methods. I slipped the phone away. The gala is in 3 days. 300 of your closest friends will be there. Imagine the scandal. You wouldn't dare, she hissed. We'd destroy you. You already tried that, but here's the thing about trying to break someone. Sometimes you just make them stronger. The doors burst open. Brent stood there looking between us. Everything okay in here? Wonderful, I said brightly. Your mother was just helping me plan the perfect menu. Weren't you, Skylar? She forced a smile. Yes, though I still think the sauce is too bitter. Oh, don't worry. I patted her arm as I passed. The main course will be much harder to swallow. Back in the kitchen, Paula and Reggie were huddled over the counter. Well? Paula asked. She took the bait. I started preparing the second course. Now we wait. You should see the guest list, Reggie said. Every major family in the city, press, politicians, mother's whole carefully curated social circle. Perfect. I drizzled sauce over perfectly seared duck breast. Because I'm about to serve them the biggest story of the season. My phone buzzed. A text from Brent. We need to talk, please. Not now, I typed back. I'm busy planning your celebration dinner. The press release is scheduled for the day after the gala, Reggie said quietly. They're going to announce the pregnancy and your separation at the same time. Let them try. I plated the duck with precise movements. I have a different announcement in mind. Paula touched my arm. Are you sure about this? Once you start, I've never been more sure of anything. I surveyed the kitchen, my battlefield, my stage. They wanted to write my story for me. Now I'm going to tell it myself. Skylar's voice carried from the dining room sharp with forced laughter. Serena had returned and they were discussing baby names. The perfect family planning their perfect future. I picked up the next course, duck breast with a blood-red reduction sauce. Time for round 2. Paula, take notes. This is going to be one dinner party they'll never forget. Because in 3 days, I wasn't just serving dinner. I was serving justice, one carefully crafted course at a time. And unlike the Crawfords, I knew exactly how to make sure every bite left a lasting impression. The night of the gala arrived with a crack of thunder. Perfect dramatic timing, I thought. Adjusting the place cards one last time. Each name written in my best calligraphy, each seat strategically placed for maximum impact. The first guests are arriving, Paula announced, slipping into the kitchen. You ready? I straightened my black cocktail dress, chosen specifically to stand out among the pastels and creams the Crawford women preferred. Born ready. Kaya! Skylar's voice carried that edge of panic she'd developed over the past 3 days. Why isn't Serena seated at the main table? Oh, didn't Brent tell you? I smiled sweetly. He requested a special arrangement tonight. For the announcement. Her face paled. What announcement? You'll see. I picked up the first tray of appetizers. Shouldn't you be greeting your guests? The grand dining room filled quickly. 300 of Boston's elite, all dressed in their finest, all eager for another legendary Crawford gathering. If only they knew. Everything's in place, Reggie murmured as I passed him. The envelopes are under their plates, I nodded, watching Serena flutter nervously between groups. She kept touching her still flat stomach, practicing her mother-to-be routine. Brent stood by the bar, downing his second scotch. Kaya, Trevor's commanding voice stopped me. Skylar tells me you've been difficult about the menu. Just trying to give everyone what they deserve, I replied. Speaking of which, your special dietary requirements have been carefully considered. His eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? You'll find out during the main course. I moved away, catching Paula's signal from across the room. Showtime. The first course went out perfectly. Chilled soup served in delicate crystal bowls. I watched Skylar's face as she read the name card, propped against her bowl. Cream of deception, served with a garnish of lies. She nearly choked on her first spoonful. Is everything all right, Mother? I asked loudly. Several heads turned. Fine, she managed, her perfect smile strained. Though the soup is rather sharp. That's the truth coming through, I said. It tends to cut deep. The second course followed, salad with fresh figs and prosciutto. Each plate carried another card, hidden fruits of betrayal. Serena's hand shook as she picked up her fork. Brent wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. What is this? Trevor demanded, holding up his card. Just adding some context to the meal, I explained. As a chef, I believe every dish should tell a story. Thunder crashed outside as the main course arrived. Servers lifted silver domes in perfect synchronization, revealing perfectly cooked beef tenderloin. And beneath each plate, a thick manila envelope. Before we begin, I stood, tapping my glass. I'd like to make a toast. Kaya, Brent warned. Don't. To family, I continued. To loyalty. To truth. I smiled at Skylar. Why don't we all open our envelopes? I've prepared some light reading to accompany the main course. The sound of tearing paper filled the room. Gasps followed. Photos, documents, emails, the entire sordid plot laid bare in black and white. Oh my God, someone whispered. Is this true? Serena, are you really? How could they? Skylar stood so quickly her chair toppled. This is ridiculous. These documents are clearly fabricated. Are they? I cut in. Should we ask your lawyer? He's right there at table 6. Or maybe Serena's doctor at table 4, the one who signed the artificial insemination papers. The room erupted in whispers. Serena burst into tears. Brent reached for another drink. You've ruined everything, Skylar hissed. No, I corrected her. You did that yourself. I'm just serving it up for everyone to see. Security, Trevor bellowed. Remove her at once. Before you do, I raised my voice. You might want to check the manila envelope being delivered to the Boston Globe right now. Paula. My friend held up her phone, showing the email confirmation. Story goes live at midnight. Chaos erupted. Society matrons clutched their pearls. Phones came out. The whispers turned to shouts. Well, I picked up my wine glass. I should head to the kitchen. Dessert is a very special recipe. I call it just desserts. Bitter chocolate truth bomb with a core of cold revenge. You'll never work in this city again, Skylar threatened. Actually, Reggie stepped forward. She will, as my new business partner. We're opening a restaurant, far from the Crawford name and influence. I surveyed the wreckage of their perfect facade, Serena sobbing, Brent drinking, Trevor raging, and Skylar's carefully constructed world crumbling around her designer shoes. Dinner is served, I announced to the room, and unlike the Crawfords, I believe in giving people exactly what they deserve. Outside, the storm raged on, but in here, in my kitchen, in my domain, justice was being served. One course at a time. You can't just walk away from this, Brent's voice echoed through the kitchen as guests continued to flee the dining room. We need to fix this. I carefully plated the chocolate desserts, each one a perfect dark sphere. Fix what exactly? The fact that you agreed to father a child with another woman? Or the fact that you got caught? It wasn't like that. Really? I spun around, brandishing a spatula. Then explain the diary entries. Explain the contract. Explain why your mother has been planning my replacement since our wedding day. I was weak, he admitted, slumping against the counter. I should have stood up to them. Yes, you should have. I turned back to my plating, but you didn't. And now everyone knows exactly what kind of man you are. The kitchen doors burst open. Serena stormed in, mascara streaking down her face. This is all your fault. You've ruined everything. I ruined everything, I laughed. That's rich coming from the woman who signed a contract to bear my husband's child for a trust fund. You don't understand, she sobbed. My family's company was failing. Skylar promised to save it if I became their broodmare? I finished coldly. More commotion from the dining room. Paula appeared, looking excited. The story just went live. It's trending already. Chaka Crawford scandal is taking off. Skylar pushed through the doors, Trevor right behind her. You think you've won? She snarled. We'll deny everything. Call it slander. Our lawyers. Your lawyers are currently being interviewed by the FBI, Reggie interrupted, holding up his phone. Apparently, using financial coercion for reproductive fraud is quite illegal. Who knew? Trevor's face turned purple. You helped her? Your own family? This family? Reggie gestured around. This toxic manipulative dynasty. Yeah, I helped take it down. Someone had to. The desserts are ready, I announced, lifting a tray. Shall we serve them to whoever's still out there? It would be a shame to waste them. You're enjoying this, Skylar accused. Actually, I am. I moved past her. 5 years of being treated like your personal chef, your social inferior, your disposable daughter-in-law. Consider this my resignation dinner. The remaining guests, about half the original number, sat in stunned silence as servers distributed the desserts. Each dark chocolate sphere contained a rolled-up copy of Brent's most damning diary entries. Before you eat, I addressed the room, I should explain the dessert. When the hot sauce is poured over the chocolate, it melts to reveal the truth inside. Rather symbolic, don't you think? Stop this, Brent pleaded. We can still salvage. Pour the sauce, I instructed the servers. The chocolate spheres melted dramatically, releasing their hidden contents. More gasps. More phones recording, more reputational damage. You bitch! Skylar lunged forward, but Reggie caught her arm. Careful, Mother. The cameras are watching. Serena suddenly clutched her stomach, swaying. I don't feel well. Morning sickness? I asked sweetly. Or just the taste of karma? She ran from the room, one hand over her mouth. Brent started after her, then stopped, torn between his arranged future and his crumbling present. Choose carefully, I told him. Everyone's watching. Paula's phone buzzed continuously. 3 major networks want interviews. The Boston Globe article has gone national. You've destroyed us, Trevor growled. No, I corrected him. You destroyed yourselves. I just provided the dinner theatre. The remaining guests began to leave, murmuring and shooting glances over their shoulders. Years of Crawford influence and intimidation dissolved in a single evening. What happens now? Brent asked quietly. Now? I removed my apron. Now I leave. The divorce papers are in your study. Your mother's lawyer drew them up weeks ago for after the pregnancy announcement. Ironic, isn't it? Kaya, please. Save it. I turned to Reggie. Ready to go look at restaurant locations? He grinned. Already have a few picked out, far from Crawford territory. You can't just leave. Skylar grabbed my arm. We're family. I pulled free. No, Skylar. We were never family. I was just an ingredient you thought you could substitute when something better came along. The press will be here soon, Paula warned. Perfect. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Skylar? The chocolate sauce? It stains. Good luck getting it out of your imported tablecloth. I walked out of the Crawford mansion for the last time, leaving behind the chaos I'd created. Behind me, I could hear Skylar's wails, Trevor's threats, Brent's protests. But ahead of me lay freedom, vindication, and a future I would build on my own terms. The storm had passed, leaving the air clean and fresh, like a kitchen after service, wiped clean and ready for a new day. And how did it feel to expose one of Boston's most prominent families? Ellen Chen from the Boston Globe leaned forward, recorder running. Like plating the perfect dish, I replied, sitting in Paula's living room the morning after the gala. Everything has to be precisely timed. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since last night. Reporters, lawyers, even a few television producers. The Crawford scandal was everywhere. Kaya! Paula burst in, waving her tablet. You need to see this. Serena just went live on Instagram. We huddled around the screen. Serena, still in last night's makeup, looked directly into the camera. I want to tell my side of the story. The Crawfords, they promised to save my family's business. I never meant to hurt anyone. Turn it up, Ellen urged, recording. Skylar approached me 6 months ago, Serena continued, her voice breaking. She said Kaya wasn't suitable for carrying on the family line, that they needed someone with the right breeding. They offered me $5 million and a guarantee to save my father's company. Holy shit, Paula whispered. My phone rang. Reggie, are you watching this? Yeah. How's the fallout at the mansion? Nuclear. Mother's had 3 anxiety attacks. Father's lawyers quit this morning. And Brent. He paused. Brent's gone. Left a note saying he's checking into rehab. The doorbell rang. Paula answered it and came back looking pale. Skylar's here. Perfect timing, Ellen smiled. Mind if I stay? Skylar swept in. Designer suit impeccable despite everything. But her eyes were red, her hands shaking. Come to serve me with papers, I asked. I came to apologize. The room went silent. Even Serena's Instagram confession kept playing in the background. You what? Don't make me say it again. Skylar sank onto the couch. Everything's falling apart. Trevor's being investigated for financial fraud. Brent's gone. Serena's talking to the press. Our reputation is exactly as real as it always was, I finished. A carefully constructed lie. We were trying to protect our legacy. By destroying mine? I stood up. By treating me like some defective appliance you could replace? I was wrong, she whispered. Ellen's recorder whirred quietly. Wrong about what exactly? I pressed. About manipulating your son. About buying a woman to bear your grandchild. About trying to erase me from your perfect family picture. All of it. Tears streaked her makeup. I didn't know how to let go of control, of tradition, of everything we built. You built it on lies, and now it's gone. She looked up at me. Are you happy? Happy? No. Satisfied? Yes. I moved to the window. You know what the difference is between cooking and what you did, Skylar? In cooking, you have to respect your ingredients. Work with them, not against them. You can't force something to be what it's not. My phone buzzed again. A text from Brent. I'm sorry for everything. Getting help. Don't try to contact me. The divorce papers. Skylar pulled an envelope from her bag. They're signed. Brent did it before he left. Thank you. I took them without opening them. What will you do now? She asked. Live my life. Open my restaurant with Reggie. Cook food that makes people happy instead of serving up lies. Ellen cleared her throat. Mrs. Crawford, would you like to make an official statement? Skylar stood, straightening her jacket. No. I think enough truth has been served for one day. She headed for the door, then turned. Kaya? Yes? The dessert last night. It was excellent, even with the evidence inside. After she left, Ellen packed up her recorder. This story's going to win awards. Just make sure you get the recipe right, I said. Revenge is all about the proper ingredients. Paula hugged me. You okay? Better than okay. I pulled out my phone and showed her the email I'd received this morning. An offer to host my own cooking show based on the viral video of last night's dinner. From disaster to triumph, she grinned. Speaking of which, I grabbed my keys. Reggie's waiting. We're looking at a space for the restaurant today. What are you going to call it? I smiled. Just desserts. Outside, reporters still camped on the sidewalk, but I walked past them with my head high. The Crawford mansion loomed on the hill above the city, but it didn't cast a shadow over me anymore. My phone buzzed one last time. Serena. I'm having the baby, but not for them. Not anymore. I hope you can forgive me someday. I typed back. Sometimes the best recipes come from starting over. Because that's what I was doing. Starting fresh, with clean ingredients and an empty kitchen, ready to create something authentic. Something real. Something mine. And we're live in 3, 2, 1. The studio lights brightened as I faced the camera. Welcome to Sweet Revenge, where every recipe tells a story. The cooking show set gleamed around me. State-of-the-art equipment, warm lighting, and most importantly, my own rules. No Crawfords in sight. Today's special guest needs no introduction, I smiled. But I'll give her one anyway. Please welcome Serena. She walked on set, baby bump now visible under her casual dress. The audience applauded. They knew the story, everyone did. But they didn't know this part yet. Thanks for having me, Kaya. She took her place at the cooking station. Though I'm not sure I deserve it. Today we're making something special, I announced to the camera. A dish about forgiveness, fresh starts, and unlikely friendships. We're calling it Redemption Soufflé. Between takes, Serena whispered, Have you heard from them? Skylar sent another apology letter to the restaurant. I measured ingredients precisely. Trevor's facing indictment. Brent's still in rehab, but he's doing better. And Reggie? Running the business side of Just Desserts like a pro. The waiting list is 3 months long. The studio audience watched as we worked together, creating something delicate and complex. They didn't know that off-camera, Serena had become a regular at my restaurant, that we'd found common ground in our shared experience of Crawford manipulation. The trick with a soufflé, I explained to the viewers, is knowing when to let go. You can't force it, can't control it. You have to trust the process. Like life, Serena added softly. My phone lit up on the counter, Paula sending a photo from tonight's fully booked service at Just Desserts. The restaurant had become a symbol of rising above adversity, each dish named after a chapter in my story. The baby's due next month, Serena said during another break. I'm naming her Hope. Not a Crawford then? No. She'll have my name, my story. She touched her belly. A fresh recipe? The soufflé rose perfectly in the oven, golden and light. As we plated it, the studio door opened quietly. Reggie slipped in, giving me a thumbs up. Another investor meeting successful. The restaurant empire was growing, built on authenticity instead of appearances. Before we taste this, I addressed the camera, I want to share something. Revenge might be sweet, but redemption is sweeter. Sometimes the people you thought were your enemies become your allies. And sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're given, Serena finished. The soufflé deflated slightly as we cut into it, but that was okay. Some things are more beautiful for being imperfect. After the show in my office above Just Desserts, I opened a letter that had arrived that morning. Brent's handwriting. The rehab program is teaching me about accountability. I'm learning to cook. Actually cook, not just order others around. It helps me understand what you tried to tell me about respect and authenticity. I hope someday. I folded the letter and tucked it away. Through the window, I could see the Crawford mansion on the hill, lights dim now. The dynasty had crumbled, but something new had grown from its ruins. Ready for service? Reggie appeared in the doorway. Always. I tied on my apron, not a prison anymore, but a symbol of power. The restaurant hummed below us, full of people drawn not by the scandal but by the food, the atmosphere, the truth we served with every dish. Paula sat at her usual table, working on her book about the whole affair. Serena had a standing reservation for two, planning for future meals with her daughter. Table 12 wants to meet the chef, Reggie grinned. They're food critics from Paris. Tell them I'll be right down. I checked my reflection. No more meet Crawford wife, just a chef in her element. But first, I need to start tomorrow's special. What are we calling it? I smiled, thinking of Skylar's crumbled empire, of Serena's courage, of Brent's attempts at redemption, of my own journey from kitchen prisoner to culinary queen. Let's call it the last course, I decided, because every good meal needs a memorable ending. The kitchen beckoned, gleaming and ready. My kitchen, my rules, my story. And unlike the carefully controlled dishes I'd once served at Crawford family dinners, this one was seasoned with something they'd never understood. Freedom. I headed downstairs to greet my guests, leaving the Crawford mansion in the shadows where it belonged. Some recipes aren't about revenge at all. They're about rising, about transformation, about proving that the best dishes come from the heart, not from a dynasty's dusty cookbook. And that's a truth worth serving every single day.